are live. The Rest Show. Welcome everybody. Yes. And today we're gonna be listening to Aaron Rand and Joe Rogan. Hi everyone. Yes, today we're gonna be listening to Aaron Rodgers and Joe Rogan. They're gonna be talking about UFOs and, yes, of course, Jesus. So without any further ado, I like that. Any further ado, I don't even know what it means, but it sounds good, right? Let's listen to Aaron Rodgers and Joe Rogan. Like I said, UFOs and Christianity. Let's hear what they have to say.
You know, they talk about some of the stories in the ancient texts and in the Bible. They, you know, they don't have the words to explain like what a spaceship is. It's like, no, it's like a chariot in the sky.
Ezekiel.
Yeah.
When you pull up the description that Ezekiel had of the wheel within a wheel, my God, it sounds like a UFO.
Within a wheel.
You know, and what a lot of people, I would like to talk to Tucker Carlson about this, because Tucker Carlson has this belief too. He just talked to people about this, and he thinks that it's always been here, and that it's a part of existence, and that this is a part of biblical stories of angels and devils, and that's what they're really talking about. They're talking about these interdimensional beings, and the darkest theory is one that Lazar talked about. He said is something that they talked to him about when he was working on these back-engineered crafts, is that what they use us as is vessels for that we are souls. We hold souls, and that this is essentially a farm, and this is how they develop souls through us, and that what our soul is. I mean, if you had to imagine what our soul is some force, something that they farm here with us. When we die, it transcends and becomes whatever they are in whatever space they exist in.
That's what Bob said?
He's talking about it, that this is one of the crazier stories that has to do with religion that's attached to the UFO phenomenon. And
Tucker's talked about the demonic part about it. Yeah. What did Diana say?
Well, this is what some of these people think, is that these things have always been here, and they are a part of our history, and that this idea that they're coming here on these metal crafts from another planet is not necessarily the whole picture, that it might be some of that, because we do that. Like, we send drones to Mars. If we get to the point where we have artificial intelligence, or I should say created intelligence, digital intelligence that exists in some sort of a physical form that we can use in a physical craft that doesn't have the biological limitations of tissue, need oxygen, and all the things that would prevent us from being able to travel in deep space. And you could send this thing out into the cosmos, and this thing behaves like a life form. I mean, we're essentially on our way to doing that. We have a rover that's moving around on Mars right now as we speak. So what is Ezekiel's?
Yeah, before he reads Ezekiel, Ezekiel chapter 1, for those who are interested, it starts around verse 4 and it finishes around verse 20. Around there is basically describing a vision. The prophet Ezekiel is seeing a vision. And that vision really have the appearance of very, very, you know, if you want to, Ezekiel is describing the same type of idea, and he's saying those are wings, because he said there's wings, there's all kinds. Let's listen to what the description of Ezekiel.
Okay. I saw an immense dust storm coming from the north, an immense cloud with lightning flashing from it, a huge ball of fire glowing like bronze. Within the fire were what looked like 4 creatures, vibrant with life. Each had the form of a human being, but each also had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were sturdy and straight as columns, but their feet were hooved like those of a calf, sparkled with the fire like burnished bronze. On all 4 sides under their wings they had human hands. All 4 had both faces and wings, with the wings touching one another. They had neither one way nor the other. They went straight forward. They turned neither one way nor the other. They went straight forward. Their faces looked like this. In front, a human face. On the right side, the face of a lion. On the left, the face of an ox. And in the back, the face of an eagle. So much for the faces. The wings were spread out with the tips of one pair touching the creature on either side. The other pair of wings covered its body. Each creature went straight ahead. Wherever the spirit went, they went. They didn't turn as they want. The 4 creatures looked like blazing fire or like fiery torches. Tongues of fire shot back and forth between the creatures. And out of the fire, bolts of lightning. The creatures flashed back and forth like strikes of lightning. As I watched the 4 creatures, I saw something that looked like a wheel on the ground beside each of the 4-faced creatures. This is what the wheels looked like. They were identical wheels, sparkling like diamonds in the sun. They looked like they were wheels within wheels, like a gyroscope. I mean, that sounds like if you're living thousands of years ago, and by the way, you tell this story forever before it ever gets written down. I mean, there's 1,000 years of oral tradition of speaking these stories before these things get written down. They went in any one of 4 directions they faced, but straight, not veering off. The rims were immense, circled with eyes. When the living creatures went, the wheels went. When the living creatures lifted off, the wheels lifted off. Wherever the spirit went, they went, the wheels sticking right with them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. When the creatures went, the wheels went. When the creatures stopped, the wheels stopped. When the creatures lifted off, the wheels lifted off, because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Well, one of the things that Lazar had said is there's no instrumentation inside these things, that they're piloting them with their minds. Well, think about what they're saying. I mean, what is he saying? When the creatures lifted off, the wheels lifted off, because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Over the heads of the living creatures was something like a dome, shimmering like a sky full of cut glass, vaulted over their heads. Under the dome, one set of wings was extended toward the others, with another wings covering their bodies. When they moved, I heard their wings. It was like the roar of a great waterfall, like the voice of the strong God, like the noise of a battlefield. When they stopped, they folded their wings. I mean, goddamn, man. That sounds like...
That's a UFO.
Yeah, it sounds like a UFO.
UAP.
That sounds like some fucking insane vision that's beyond comprehension that happens to people that live in a prehistoric civilization. That's probably how you would describe it. Yeah. And especially if you're telling this story over and over again, it's passed down generation to generation, and then someone writes it down in ancient Hebrew or in Aramaic, and then it has to get translated into Latin and into Greek and then eventually to English. I mean, the whole thing is nuts.
Yeah, let's stop right there. And, all I have to say about the descriptions of a UFO and all that, well, when we believe in another dimension, that there's another world out there, and that God has made those creatures, angels, fallen angels, and angels, messengers of God. And through all the scriptures, we see that God sends messengers, sends angels. But the fallen angels, I think those are the ones who are right now making appearances here and there. Even if you're aware of presidents of the United States that have concluded, have asked around, even Donald Trump was asked, Joe Rogan has interviewed him yesterday, and he has said, yes, he has said that very close people have seen something that are very hard to describe, and they think there's UFOs. Well, those UFOs are extraterrestrial beings that are not from this dimension, but the other dimension. And that dimension, I think it's those Nephilims that Genesis 6 describes. Let's go check it out. Right now, we can see there, chapter 6 of Genesis. We can see it at verse number 2, and we can see that it says the sons of God as the angels is the creation of God. saw that the daughters of men were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. For he is flesh. His days shall be 120. The Nephilims were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. Those men of renown, those giants that were on the earth in the past, are probably those type of creatures that created the pyramids of Egypt. It's because if they're the men of renown, the men, they are very, very intelligent. That's why a lot of people say there was, back in those days, there were a technology that we lost, a technology that was available. And that technology, well, we see that Joe Rogan has described in Ezekiel chapter 1, that vision that Ezekiel saw. Well, we can kind of say, or maybe come to a conclusion, that that type of engine, that type of technology were created by the Nephilim, those men of renown, those giants. And sometimes we say giants are what? In stature or in renown or intelligence or greatness of, all kinds of things were created by this type of creature, the type of, I think I would say they were hybrid humans, but with a bigger capacity. And that's when God decided that man, that flesh, will not be able to live longer than 120 years, because we know that before Methuselah, Noah, and all those men before used to live 600, 700, 800, 900 years. So I think this is my take for those who are, think that the Bible is just little stories about fables. No. The Bible touches every type of supernatural things. The Bible is not just about stories that happened to Jesus and stories, miracles that he did, but there's a lot more in the Bible, and this is one of them. Okay, now let's continue. Let's check out a little bit more about that conversation, and that way we can go a little bit further. Now they're gonna touch a subject that is Christianity, and it's very, very eye opener. Whatever Joe Rogan says, I really like what he says, and Joe Rogan is not a Christian, far from there. He was an atheist, now he's an agnostic, but before he used to despise Christianity, and right now he's like, little by little, he's starting to find out that the Bible is more than fables. There's a lot of things that we can see that are becoming more and more plausible nowadays. All the supernatural world and all the things that are supernatural. Well, now we can see through the technology, we can do amazing things that are incomprehensible to somebody who would live like 1,000 years ago. The technology would say that's incredible. This is I would never thought this would be possible. So if we let things happen in the future, we're gonna be seeing things that are unimaginable, and that's why we can say it's supernatural. That's basically what we gotta come down to the conclusion. Okay. I think I've said enough. Let's hear what Joe Rogan has to say a little bit further up that podcast with Aaron Rodgers.
The problem with living in a secular society and living in a society that has a lot of people that are atheists, that have no belief system at all, is you find a belief system. And that's a lot of these people that call themselves atheists, or they've subscribed to the religion of woke. You know, their God is equity and inclusiveness. Their God is this ideology that they think that you have to subscribe to. And that's why it's spooky, because people, human beings, seem to have a very strong desire for some sort of order and form and some sort of pattern that they can follow that seems to be the right way to go. And they can be led. They can be led by cults. They can be led by groups of people. They can be led by, you know, intolerant governments and evil armies and corrupt politicians. They can be led. But I think as time rolls on, people are going to understand the need to have some sort of divine structure to things, some sort of belief in the sanctity of love and of truth. And a lot of that comes from religion. A lot of people's moral compass and the guidelines that they've used to follow to live a just and righteous life has come from religion. And unfortunately, a lot of very intelligent people, they dismiss all of the positive aspects of religion because they think that the stories are mere superstitious fairy tales, that, you know, they have no place in this modern world, and, you know, we're inherently good and your ethics are based on your own moral compass and we all have one. And that's not necessarily true. Because you see the way people behave in war, they don't have any moral compass. They're just fucking murderers and killers. And we've asked people in service of our country to go to these places and behave like murderers and killers, and then reintegrate into society, right back into society, and be a good person again. And they don't know how to do it, and they go crazy. And there's a lot of them who come back and they're down is up and up is down. They don't know what the fuck.
And we don't help them out.
We don't help them out. And the suicide rate, suicide is I think, is it the number one killer of veterans?
Pretty sure, yeah. Yeah, but
yeah, it's a fucked up world we live in. We need Jesus. I think, for real. Like, if he came back now, it'd be great. Like,
I like the way he said it right there. I think he's serious. Like, we need Jesus, and then for real, you know, if he come back now, that would be great, because he understands that the crazy world that we're living in, we think as we advance, we gotta get smarter, and we're gonna be more loving, and peace on the earth will come, because we're gonna learn from our mistakes. And we're gonna learn, like, from World War II, what a disaster. Look what Hitler did. We're not gonna make that anymore. We gotta have to learn from our mistakes. No. Men are evil in their heart. When you give him power and money, a lot of things can go wrong. And that is the problem, when we put God aside and we try to do it in our own way. Anyways, let's continue.
Just, if you're thinking about coming back
right now,
now's a good time.
Yeah, pretty soon, yeah.
Now's a good time. We're kind of fucked. Well,
there's a lot of people that think that might be coming.
Well, it might be.
Mark of the beast.
That might be the aliens. I mean, that might be what all this stuff is. It might be we reach a certain point where we're so unmanageable and so chaotic that something comes down and gives us a guideline. I mean, this is what Moses essentially experienced, supposedly, right? When he came back with his 10 commandments. This is supposedly what, you know, these people that have had these religious visions, none of the religious visions be like, oh my God, we're fucked. Yeah. All the religious visions were, there's a way to do this. Yeah. There's a guide, there's a way to follow, and there's a greater power that's above everything, that controls this whole thing and keeps it all together. And there's laws to adhere that will make for a much better life for all humans and all life on Earth.
Yeah, it's hope. Hope is a memory of the future. You know, this shit matters.
Yeah,
that
it does matter.
Yeah, everything we do matters. I think if you know, atheists, I think, can find their own religion. It might be religion of science or religion of climate change or whatever it might be, but to not believe in a higher power means that really nothing I do matters. Ultimately, I live, I die. That's it. You know.
Yeah.
So whatever purpose you might have, it's short-lived. It's just for this. There's nothing else going on. I have a hard time with that because I believe there's a seen world and an unseen world, and there's forces of good and forces of evil, and that there's a purpose for all this. And there's, there's a lot of reasons why we're doing this. There's a lot of opportunities to do this. I'd like to get it right this time around.
Yeah,
you know?
that'd be nice.
That'd be nice. But if there is the Christianity part and Jesus wants to come back and save everything,
It'd be good right around now.
yeah.
Like, don't wait till the election.
Yeah.
Don't wait until China invades Taiwan.
Don't wait until Klaus Schwab puts on his suit again.
Yeah, don't wait till he gets on the Darth Vader outfit. Why was he wearing that outfit? Is there an explanation
I think
for
we're
why
gonna
Klaus
stop right there. I think we're gonna stop right there. I think that's pretty much what they had to say. But we can understand that yes, we need a framework. We need a point of reference. We need God in our lives so we cannot go astray and do stupid and unimaginable things. So I think I'm gonna leave you right there. I think we've been doing this for a long time. I think we're past 20 minutes. So I think we're gonna leave it like that. It's getting long every week, but I hope you enjoy this segment with Joe Rogan and Aaron Rodgers about UFOs and Christianity. Hope to see you soon. God bless you. Bye bye.